Maseches Bava Kama, second parak. We are starting a new parak. Aren't we all excited about that? Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Ketza the Regel. Peanut Gallery, please behave. Ketza the Regel. Ketza the Regel. Ketza Merakdin. Okay, we're going to have a Rikud also today in the end of the Mishnah. I'm restarting the Mishnah even though we said it yesterday, but we need to see it again. This year's Lulishmas of Imoyer, Menachem Ben Akiva, Soro Bas Moshe Tzila Bas Ben Zion, and Rus Bas Sholem. La? Ilun Nishoma? Ilun Nishmas Elchonon Yitzchok Ben Shlomo. Leofuas Rivka Bas Yudis. Besoch Shachar Yudis Bas Rivka, Besoch Shachar Yisrael. Keitzad HaRegel. Okay, Keitzad HaRegel. Mu'edes answers the Mishnah, L'shaber b'derech hilucha. When we said regel, how exactly, when we said in the previous Mishnah that the regel is mu'ad, how is a regel mu'ad? In which way do we say that the organ called regel in a behema is mu'ad? And the answer is b'derech hilucha, to break as it walks along. If it walks naturally as the animal walks, down the, not down the street, down someone else's field, and then it breaks as it walks along, that's called mu'ad. You pay nezek sholem, and that's something normal and expected, and you pay the full nezek. Behema continues the Mishnah to the next line. Behema is mu'ad, is likely, is normal to walk around and be mishaber and break small kelim as he walks along. And the Gemara is going to ask the question, why do we need to say the same thing twice? Yeah, the Mishnah seems to be redundant. We already said that regel is mu'ad, so why again are we saying that the behema is mu'ad? Of course we meant the regel of a behema, not the regel of an odom, right? How do you know it's not an odom? Because an odom, what? Mu'ad lo'ilom. Odom is always mu'ad, rabim, yochid, all the time. There's no, odom doesn't have any differences. Yeah, they're all the same. Now, hoiso meva'etes. Now, let's say the behema started kicking with the legs, same organ, but different av. What's mevaetes? Keren. Kicking. Oshu tzeroros menadzim mitachas ragleo. There were tzeroros that would, fly off, shoot off from under its feet. Yeah, it's walking in the street and the pebbles, boom, they fly over to where? To Reshus HaYochid. Okay? To Reshus HaYochid, because Reshus HaYochid yichayv on regel. And Shiba is a kelim, and he broke the kelim. Mishalem chatzi nezek. You pay only half. It's not because of Keren. It's because there is a gzeres kosuv. There's a lochel mishemesinai. The tzeroros, which is I wouldn't say indirect. It's a less direct. Then you have to pay only half, not full price. We're in the Mishnah, in the middle. Dos al hakeli b'shabaltoi. The behema was doives, trampled, stepped on a ball, stepped on anything actually, any kli that's small and broke it. V'nofal al kli v'shavroi, and that shrapnel, a piece of that kli that it broke directly, boom, shoo, shot over to another kli and broke the other kli. So there are two broken kelim. One boom direct, and the other one is a shoot off of the first one. A piece of the broken one flew over and broke another one. So you have two kelim broken. For the first one, you pay nezek sholem. For vos, because it's regular regel. Regular. The word regular comes from regel, by the way. Yes. Regular comes from regel for many reasons. Yeah, regular. No, it all comes from Lashon HaKodesh. Regel, shlosha regolim, to regulate. Regel, ragil, used to, murgal. Yeah. Anyway, mishalem nezek sholem. You pay nezek sholem. You pay the full price. Why? Because it's direct nezek. We're in the last line in the Mishnah, Rabbi. We're reviewing yesterday's Mishnah. On the last kli, you pay. The second kli, you pay half nezek because the second one was a result of tzeroros. Tzeroros is half a nezek. Today we're going to discuss tzeroros, dissect tzeroros, bring different cases of tzeroros. We see machlokes about tzeroros. Today is all about tzeroros. Good.
Tzeroros or tzeroros?
Not tzeroros. With chus, we'll learn about tzeroros. All our tzeroros of Klal Yisrael will fly away. Atan goylin. Here the Mishnah is mechadesh that animals that have wings, in other words, birds also are in the story. Yeah, a tarnagol, a rooster, a hen, anybody from the chicken family, they walk around and it's normal for them to walk and break, even though they're smaller than the cow or the donkey or anything like that. But for a tarnagol to walk, tarnagol is big and strong enough that if he walks, it breaks kelim as he walks along, and that's still considered as regel. Now continues the Mishnah talks about tzeroros again. Hoya delil kosher beraglo. Let's say the Tarnagol had some kind of delil, which means anything that's tied to its legs. Either there's a version called dli, or dlil is like some kind of even a thread or rope that's tied to its feet. So then that's considered as tzeroros. In other words, if he walks here and the thingy, the dlil makes a nezek over there, because listen carefully to what I'm saying, because the dlil has its own, how do I say, its own independent movement. Yeah, he walks here and the dlil can go bigger and better, the dlil can start, I walk here and then the dlil goes like that. Yeah, as an indirect result of his movement. That's called tzeroros. Yeah, soon you'll see what I mean more exactly, but now we just accept it. It's not a direct nezek. He didn't step on the kli. He stepped over here, and then the dlil was connected, I don't know, 1 meter away, and that 1 meter away, the end of that thread was something sharp, something dangerous, and that something broke a kli. Then you only have chetzi nezek because that's a form of tzeroros, even though it's not the stepping and then boom, shooting off. It's another way, but still, because it's indirect and not a direct result of his movement, but it's a semi-independent movement, therefore that's considered as nezek of tzeroros, and he only has to pay half the nezek. Oi, alternatively, shoyu mehadis. Mehadis means two things. Mehadis either means, like I said yesterday, like Rashi is dancing, he's like prancing around, yeah, frolicking, Mehadis. Not like I said yesterday, I think yesterday I just made a mistake. I don't think anybody says like me, from what I've seen, it was my mistake. And that is what? Mehadis doesn't mean keren, Mehadis is normal. It's normal for the chicken to dance around, to jump around, to hop. Umeshaber, that's just meraket, dancing, okay? Umeshaber is a kelim, and it breaks the kelim. Mishalim chatzi nezek. Why does he pay only half a nezek? Because we're talking about tzeroros. He was dancing around over here, hopping over here, and jumping around, and then something flew over there. Mimela, that's also called tzeroros. So we see that the same halachas apply to birds. It's not something exclusive only for animals. I would say maybe for the chicken, it's smaller. Maybe it's not so normal for it to walk around and do these things. Kamash Malan, halacha views that as normal enough, and therefore roosters are also, notorious for doing these things, and you are chayiv. Another pshat of mehadis is, according to the Rambam, in Pirush HaMishnah, the Rambam says mehadis means digging. He was digging like a small hole. Sometimes birds do it. They dig a hole in the ground with their feet, with the claws. Yeah, it's the clause number 5. And then what? And they dig the hole, and Tarnagolim do it more. And as it's digging, the pieces of dirt actually fly off through they fly backwards. And that's considered as tzeroros. Very good. Continue. Questions and comments? Call 1-800. What did I say? F. Sorry. Tzeroros is F. Sorry if I said. Okay. Sorry, maybe I didn't hear myself. Because the chicken is making a hole in a way that's not disturbing anybody. But all the dirt, as it digs in, the dirt flies off, boom, 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 all the way to the back. And it hit my fancy new Chanel tie with the dirt and won't come off. Then he has to pay half a nezek because the form of nezek was tzeroros. I have to work on my American accent when I say tzeroros. Yeah. It's normal. Tzeroros is normal. Abazoi, because it's not direct, it's half. It's not, I don't like to say indirect, it's not, we'll see later about direct or indirect. I said yesterday, we'll discuss how direct it is, that's going to be a discussion now. It's definitely less direct than mamish stepping on the thing, right? That we all agree. It's not called groma though, that will be discussed. Says the Heilige Gemure. Yep, we're discussing now the first 2 lines of the Mishnah claiming that it's redundant. Ravina asked Rove the following question: Hainu regel, hainu behema. Why is Ravina asking Rove? Remember the name. Ravina asks Rove. Why is the Mishnah repeating itself? Hainu regel, hainu behema. The Mishnah started off by saying the regel is muad, and then the Mishnah said later on, behema muedes nalach kedarko. It's the same thing. We're talking about a regel of a behema, so it looks like there's an extra redundant line over here. Amarle, so he answered, the Rava answered, and he said, Tana ovois v'katani toldois. Interesting. He says, no. First of all, we learned the av and then the tolda. Remember from the beginning of the first parak, what's the av of regel and what are the toldos of regel? No, who wants to win a trip to California? What's the av of regel mentioned in the Torah? Stepping on the thing. Regel is kipshuta, when the animal actually stepped on the item. What is the characteristic? What are the characteristics of regel? Is it vicious? What?
Like a beta, kicking. The 4 or 5 that we had before.
No, beta, that's a told of Karen. Kicking is Karen. I'm talking about a regular. What are the toldos of regel? As the behemoth walks along naturally, not pushing on purpose exactly, not pushing on purpose, but brushing against something. For example, let's say the behemoth was walking, and as the behemoth was walking, doesn't notice that the other people around or other animals are kelim. As it walks along, it breaks something naturally by the way of its gait without the feet, but with the side of its body, or with the ukaf, remember, with its saddle, or with the burden on its back, or the burden on its side, or with its hair, its mane, the horse, let's say, or things like that, with its muzzle. It just walks naturally, and as it walks, it breaks things b'derech hilucha, as it walks along. These are the toldos of regel, which now makes sense very nicely. That's what Rava told him. Tana Ovis Katani told us. If you read the Mishnah again, if you want to flip to the previous page, Ketsa the regel at the rate in the ratio. We said the very first line. A regel First, we spoke about the av mentioned in the Torah. Regel v'shilach es beiroi mishalche regel shor b'chamo. Right, and then it says the beima muedes lehalach kedarka, not with the feet dafka. The beima walks along lehalach, and then it doesn't say that the regel is actually what caused the damage. The walking, when you walk along, how can you damage? With your shoulder, with your burden, with your mane, with your prumbia, with a bell, even it says with anything like that. And therefore, these are the toldos. So first of all, the Mishnah spoke about the av, and then the Mishnah spoke about the toldos, the derivatives, and that's very nice. This is in the Torah, and this is derived from simple logic, all the things that are similar to it, like Shabbos. Okay, very nice. Ella, but now Ravina attacks back. And he says, Ella me'ata seifa. We all have to flip now. We have to turn the pages into Yutes Amud Beis. Yat Kislev. Yutes Amud Beis. It says in Yutes Amud Beis, it's an imperative to see. It's not long, it's very short what we have to see, but we have to see it. It says over there in Yutes Amud Beis, by the wide lines, it says Ketzad Hashen Muedes Lechol Asoroilo. How is a Shen Muedes? To eat what's normal. That's a Shen. Shen is about eating. And then it continues and it says, a Behema Muedes Lechol Peros V'Yirokos. A Behema is muad to eat fruits and vegetables. Okay. So now the question is, there also it's redundant. We say Shen, eating, and then again we say Behema eats fruit and veg. So now, Frag the Gemara, now Ravina asked Rava back, and he said, Ela me'ato, now, according to you, Seifa, in the Seifa, meaning in the next Mishnah, the Ketani, it says over there, Hashem Moedes, and then it says afterwards, the Behema Moedes, my ovus, my toldasika. Then it's not true. You can't, your formula is not going to work over there. Why? What you tell me, what are the Av and what is the Tolda of Shen? Shen is for fun, enjoyment, not vicious, normal fun, normal healthy fun in a protected environment. Yeah, Keitana. Yeah, what's the Av of Shen? What? The Av of Shen, teeth.
Teeth, I'm sorry.
What kind of fun do you have with your teeth? Not biting viciously, that's Karen, guys. Eating the food, that's Shen. What's the told of Shen? What? And also what? Like rubbing its back against the wall until the wall falls down in Berlin. Yeah, in other words, anything that he does for fun or rolling on the tomatoes in the garden, but they're my tomatoes, yeah? So then the question is, your formula, you claim that the Mishnah is first talk about an Av and then told her it ain't going to work in Yutes Amud Beis. Why? Look again, it says, you want to say that's talking about eating. So the next one should be about rolling or scratching, but it doesn't. It says over there, eating fruit and vegetables. No. So now your formula doesn't work, Rabbi, says Ravina to Ove, right? Over there, you can't say the first one was the Av and the second is the Tolda, because the second one is the Av. The second one is the one talking about eating, which is clearly the Av. So then it's messed up. Your formula doesn't work in the next Mishnah, doesn't stand that litmus test. So now, very, very interesting, very rare kind of line in the Gemara. Rava answered to Ravina jokingly, bedicha. Yeah, in a way that was humorous, or which I don't know which word is the our school using? Humorously, jokingly, jocularly. Of course, that's how we talk. Okay, jocularly, right? Not jokingly or humorously. So then he answered him b'bdichusa. What did he say? Rava answered Ravina, Anosh no ichada ve'at shani chada. I explained the first Mishnah. It's your turn to answer the second Mishnah. Explains, I saw yesterday, Rabbi Yitzchak Lampronti, the Rav of the Ramchal, explains what's going on over here. Basically, he says, I answered one, you answer the other, which other people explain that I don't have to have all the answers. Ask the Rebbe, you work it out yourself. He was like half joking, saying like in a humorous way, he was saying, okay, I gave you one answer, you deal with the other answer, okay? I don't have to have all the answers for you. That's what Rava told the Ravina, which may have been his Talmud, I don't know. But that's, Ravina was later, yeah. So then, that's what Rava answered him. At the end of the day, frankly, that's all very nice. It's a give and take. I don't have to answer. You have to answer. But frankly, the time am I. Okay, but give me the answer. Either Rava, Ravina, or Rava, whoever wants to answer, what really is the reason that the second Mishnah is now redundant? In the second Mishnah, we have two lines, one about Shen and the other one about Shen. So what's the story? Amar Vashi, Tana Shen de Chaya v'Ktani Shen de Behema. Wow. In other words, very interesting. The second Mishnah deals with two types of teeth, two types of animal that eat. One of them is Chaya, a wild animal, and one of them is Behema, a domesticated animal. And you need to tell me that both of them are Chayav v'Shen. Why? Sal Kadaita Chamina, I would have said, V'shilach es be'iro iksiv, Behema in Chaya loy. I would have said like this, yeah? I would have said that maybe, since V'shilach es be'iro, he said, what's the pasuk that teaches us about Shen v'Regel? I'll say what? V'shilach es be'iro. He sent off his, what's be'iro? Be'iro are behemoths. Be'iro is like cattle. Cattle is be'iro. Yeah, or the cow, bovine, ovine, but these are behemoths. A beiro, a lion is not called beiro. Wolf is not beiro. They don't live with people. So now I would have said behema in chayaloi. Maybe the pasuk only tells me that if a behema eats, then yes. But maybe if my chaya, maybe if I own a wolf or a lion as my pet or crocodile, they went to the other person's field, and they ate there. Maybe I'm potter. That's what I was thought. Interesting havamina, which I'm going to explain soon. Kamash Malan, the pasuk comes, the Mishnah comes to tell me the Chaya b'chlal behema. There is a pasuk in the Torah that starts off with Chaya and then finishes off with behema, and also vice versa. And the Maisa, when we say behema, it includes Chaya, and Chaya includes behema. They, unless known otherwise, they all have the same halachas, and that's what we say in the next Mishnah. Which means, let's reread the next Mishnah. And the Mishnah says, listen to the first line. Doesn't say behema. Shen mu'edis lecholos ha'oilo. And the second line said behema. Mashma, the first one talks about chaya, and the second one about behema. Right? One second. Okay, yeah. Oh.
So it's one lafuke the other?
Not lafuke, no. Latuye. A shen word is lecholos orlo is a chaya. Shen, without mentioning the word behema, without the B word. And then the second one, a behema. Behema word is lechol peros v'yirokos. Peros v'yirokos are vegetarian. Behemoths are usually vegetarian, right? The sheep, the cows, the chule, what you grow in your backyard. The dog is really nuts. I don't know where dog is in the story, but a behema is, I think a dog is a chaya really. The dog bats him as a predator. So now that's what the Mishnah says, chaya and then behema. That's why we have two shinaim, two teeth, one chaya and one for behema. I would, although I allowed you to bring in, but I prefer to continue one more line unless urgent or. Oh, Yochi, fragt the Gemara, Shlomo's question. If so, excuse me. If so, going with logic, following logic, then Behema should be mentioned first, not Chaya, because Behema is the one mentioned in the Torah. Chaya is a derivative. Yeah, from the drasha, Chaya b'chlal Behema, right? We know extra information. Oh, Chaya is also included. Chaya is like second fiddle, but the main one is Behema. That's one mentioned in the Torah. Should be mentioned first in the Mishnah. Why do you say Chaya and then Behema? Answers the Gemara, big Yesod from Yevonis. Answers the Gemara, Hi, the Asel Midrasha Chaviva le. The Mishnah likes more those halachas which are not spoon-fed by the Torah. Things that come from the Drasha, in other words, those things that are not mefurish outright in the Torah, in Kriyas Torah Shabbos morning, written black and white, but we have to derive it, we have to work it out ourselves, yeah? They are derived by droshes, by Chazal's droshes, Chai B'chal Behema, and all this is chaviv, is more liked. Which money do you like more? The one you made with blood, sweat, and tears, or some gift someone gave you? What you worked hard for, you like more. Yeah, it says, so his friend, person likes his own money, they worked harder and more than his friend's money that he gave him. In other words, we like the droshes more. And therefore, Dafka, because Chaya was learned in a more indirect way with Omer LaTorah, that's why we like Chaya more, and we mentioned the drosh of Chaya, and then the Behema. Frag the Gemara, if so, by this logic, Reisha Nami, yeah, litnei de loksiva bereisha. If so, the loksiva bereisha. In the Reisha, in Behema, what did we say in our Mishnah? Now let's go back to our Mishnah in Yudzayin Amud Aleph. A regel where this l'shaber b'derech hilucha is the actual foot, the av told, the av of nezek, the actual foot itself, and then the tolda of Behema Moedes of the neck and the nape and all that and the burden. These are toldas. Why don't you mention the toldas first? If you say that you like to mention the lesser kilo, the one less direct from the Torah, you like to mention it first. So why is it in the Mishnah, the first one, why there you go with a, so to speak, normal order, you go with the Av and then the Tolda? Why? You mention the Tolda and then the Av, because the Tolda is less mefurish. You just told me you like to mention the less explicit one first. You like the more. Yeah? You fight for the rights. So then why do you Davka mention the first Mishnah the other way? Answers the Gemara, Hachi Hashta. What's Hachi Hashta? Can you compare? Very good, very good. Hachi Hashta, is that comparable? Ma Pitrom. Awesome. Over there by Shen, Idi v'Idi Ovis Ninhu. By the Shen of Behema, when the Behema eats, either the wolf eats meat or the sheep eats the grass, it's the same Av. They're both Av. They're not Av in the Torah because they're both eating with the teeth. They're not rolling on the tomatoes. Mimele, when both are ovos, but a shen, chaya, shen behema, both are ovos, both carry the same weight, and then we say, you know which one I'm going to mention first? Dafka, the one which is not mefurish in the Torah, the one that I figured out myself, I'll mention it first. But hocho, shavik av v'tani tolda, but over here you want to tell me that you leave behind the av and you learn tolda first, doesn't make sense. Yesh gvul, how much we can say that we like the droshes d'Rabbanan better. You want to tell me, you mentioned the derivative before you mention the actual prototype? That's crazy. He can't mention the child before the father. Where did the child come from? And Mimela over here, it's different. Very good. My question was, that's my question. Now it's my time to, you also have a question? No. So my question is, I've been waiting. Yeah, and the question is, why would I have a Havamina that only a shein of a behema is chayav, not a chaya? What kind of Havamina is that? It's true, even if the Torah talks about be'iroi, but l'maisa, why should it be different if my sheep is eating the grass or my dog is eating the The bones, not the bones, the cholent. Yes.
You're sholet on a behemoth, not sholet on a chaya.
Interesting. Yes, by Karen, we do see that the chai both. I say, interesting. How I mean, behemoth is more controllable than a chai. So maybe chai not chai on shen or regel b'chlal kilo out of the thing. Nice and interesting. Yes, right. The other answer, okay, the Talmud the Rashba, I like your answer. Talmud the Rashba says that, but he's the only one that I saw that the ISO relates to it. Talmud the Rashba says, I would have thought that animals usually they like to devour the live animals. Let's say my wolfele, velvele, he went and he ate Yen's sheep, someone else's sheep. Maybe it's not called shen. Maybe that's called keren, even though he wants to eat it. But maybe that kind of vicious act, devouring with all the blood and all of that, it's goring. Maybe that kind of thing is considered as keren by definition, and maybe it's not shen. It's not shen. It's not really, it's not the normal shen the way we see it. It's devouring, a live thing. Maybe that's even for enjoyment normal. Maybe that's called keren. Kamashmala, no, it falls under shen. That's why we have to mention chaya, that chaya too, that's normal. If the chaya devours in a normal way and eats in a normal way, that's its supper. For her, that's like rest. What do you want from her? Yeah, that's the answer, although I like yours too. Tanu Rabbanon. No, excuse me. Iboy Sema, another answer regarding our Mishnah. Why did our Mishnah speak about regel and then about behema in general? Very simple. Since I did the salik miregel, pasach beregel. Since already we spoke about regel in the previous Mishnah. Remember the previous Mishnah with the 5 vicious animals and the 5 and 5, the 3 5s? There we spoke about the word regel. Mimela, we speak about regel here too. It's not because of chavivas or anything. We spoke about regel, and therefore we continue and we say ketzad the regel. The aforementioned regel we spoke about, we discuss how is that, how is it muad, and we say l'shaber, and then we talk about other things, not because they're told stam. We expand it to other items which are not foot, such as the saddle, the prumbia, the thing in the mouth, any way of walking along as damaging as he walks along, they're all called regel. So now we're done with that. We're done with the words and the style, the grammatic style of the Mishnah. Tanu Abonon. Braise about regel and tzeroros. Tanu Abonon. Behema is normal for the behema to walk along and break as it walks along. Ketzad, how is that? That's the only place where regel is chayiv, right? Chotzer nizak. Ve'ezika begufa derech hilucha. It damaged something with its body as it was walking along. Ubesara derech hilucha, with its hair or mane, whatever, as it's walking along. Be'ukaf shaleh, what's an ukaf? Saddle, very good. Ubeshlif shaleh, shlif is really a burden. A burden on the animal is also part of the animal. It's a chiddush. When it comes to nezek, the behema didn't notice, hey, where are you going? Where do you think you're going? The behema walks along, and with the burden on the back, it's hurting something. Some kind of muzzle or something it has in the mouth, like a muzzle or a bit. Yeah, I told you with the bell. The behema, like the cows, they have big bells, like in Switzerland. Yeah, so somehow with the bell, it managed as it walks along. With the bell, it's causing nezek. The chamor b'masoi, and also the hamor, the donkey with its masa, with its burden. Tosfos asks the question, chamor b'masoi, what's the chiddush of the chamor b'masoi? What's the difference? Of course, who cares whether it's a chamor or a cow? Look at Tosfos, chamor b'masoi. That's the third dibur maschil. Yeah, says Tosfos, afal gav the kvarshon b'shlif shaleh. We already know that a behema is chayev if it damaged something with the shlif, which is a burden on it. So why do you have to mention the chamor? Itzich lashmuinan. The Rice still found it necessary to tell us this thing of chamor. It's not so well adjusted. The chamor, the burden on it is not as properly tight and very well adjusted and secured, right? Ki kibishal behema, other than other behemoths, maybe others, no camels or cows, maybe they do better. I would have thought that it's not like its own body. It's a little, it's dangling a little bit. The chamal, so mimela, I would have thought maybe it's like a derivative, maybe it's tzeroros, maybe it's nothing, maybe this and that. Mimela, I would have said that this is not chiv kamash malan, that it is. Okay. Now continues the brisa. What do they do? How much do they have to pay? All these animals or their owners? B'shalom nezek shalom. Why nezek shalom? Regel. These are all very, fertile imagination kind of cases of regel. Regel pays nezek shalom in the field of the nizak. I'm very happy for Alan. For the first time, he beat you. Well, nothing personal. Yeah, 1 second, but I want to finish the brisa first, and then I'll hear your questions. Sumchus, welcome to Sumchus. The Tana Sumchus, Oimer, tzeroros. Now, Sumchus talks about tzeroros all of a sudden. Nobody spoke about tzeroros. Tzeroros, the chazir shoynover be'ashpa, a pig that's rummaging in the ashpa. Yeah, it has its head and its nose, more or less the same thing. The nose and mouth, everything is in the garbage because chazirim, they like garbage, they're not clean animals. And it's rummaging through, eating with its head in the garbage, okay? And then vehizik, it damaged in the process. Mishalem nezek sholem. The chazir has to pay full nezek. The question is again, what's the chiddush? But really, the Gemara has other questions, and soon as there are questions. In fact, the Gemara, pshita, hizik, pshita. Of course, if the chazir was going through the garbage, and as it's, eating from the garbage and rummaging through the garbage, it's, what do we say? It's mazik something. Let's say the garbage is hefker, and it's not hefker, it's in my domain, and I have something valuable in the garbage, and he's eating it. Of course, he's chayiv nezek sholem, because he's eating valuable garbage. You can get paid for that, whatever. What's the chiddush? Of course, he's chayiv if he eats. Ela, ema, says the Gemara, no, you got it wrong. Hitis vehizik. You know what the chazir does? Imagine yourself like a cartoon. The chazir eats and eats and eats, and as it's eating deeper and deeper into the garbage, there's more stuff that flies off through the back, right? Yeah, as he's busy eating, there's all kinds of, other pieces of garbage that actually fly off through the back, right? And then what? They hit my fancy Chanel tie. I don't like that. And therefore, how much does he pay? How much would he pay for that, for my Chanel tie, if he threw something on it? Why full? Full? I would call that tzeroros. But Sumchus, no, Chotzer Nizek still Chetzi Nezek. Tzeroros is always Chetzi Nezek. If it's not Chotzer Nizek, Lo Mishaneh, because Choshus Arabim, then Bechlal you don't pay anything. It's what? It's tzeroros of Shen. It's tzeroros. Mishal Nezek Shalom, you know why? Because the Tana talking over here, his name is Sumchus. And Sumchus does believe in tzeroros. Wow. Sumchus argues on tzeroros, and Sumchus says that tzeroros are Nezek Shalom. We're all wowed and stunned. Everybody is with their fingers. I can't keep cheshbon anymore. Okay, I'm giving up and I'm not continuing. Ellen was first. Yes, question time. Drink Coke. The line starts with the word man. Tzeroros man dechar shmayu. Whoever spoke about tzeroros? What kind of depth conversation is it? Bava Kama spoke about the classical cases of the animal walking along and damaging the regel. All of a sudden, Sumchus says tzeroros to argue. How are you arguing about something that wasn't mentioned? Answers the Gemara, the magic words, chisurim echsera, the achiktani. The Bryce is missing a few words. Tzeroros ki urchayu. Tzeroros, according to Tana Kama, ki urchayu means what? Even though it walks along normally, urchayu in a normal fashion, and it's not keren, it's a normal way. Nevertheless, chatzi nezek. Why? Because gzeras hakosuf, because it's chatzi nezek. The chazir shoyonover be'ashpa, the chazir that was digging into the ashpa, and as he was doing it, vehitis, what's latis? He was like, shot off, from the back, vehizik, and then that was mazik b'tzeroros, mishalem chatzi nezek, because we Tana Kama, the mainstream opinion, we hold chatzi nezek tzeroros. Sumchus oimer tzeroros. The chazir shenover b'ashpa v'hitis vehizik, either regular tzeroros or the tzeroros of the chazir, which is also a form of tzeroros, as he digs in the leftovers fly off. then Mishalem Nezek Sholem, because Sumchus from his rabbi did not learn this Gzeras HaKosuf. Many times Tanoim arguing on things in the Torah itself. Some of them got a certain drosha as a tradition, some of them didn't. It's just a matter of different traditions within Orthodox Judaism, different traditions. That should be the title of today's year. Different. So then what? Says Sumchus Nezek Sholem. Frek the Heilige Toises. Lately we're into Toises. Guy, don't you realize the shiur is being upgraded? Frek Toises, what's the Chiddush with Chazir? It's just another form of tzeroros, right? Who cares if tzeroros is by the rooster walking or the Chazir eating? Machpatli, right? Well, why is that a whole issue over here with the Chazir? Which brings a whole lot of questions we asked at the break. Why, how come he raises Chazirim? Answers Toises, Noiver Bashpa, the Master Noiver Bashpa, in the middle of the page. Yechalsamena Chazir Miyar, Metargimina Nino Vrinei. Yechalsem is going to know with the G. Yeah, it's going to eat. The Afalgad, the Tanit Tzeroros the Regel. I already know Tzeroros the Regel. Why do you have to tell me again about the Chazir? Answers Toises, Shmu'in and Tzeroros the Shen, the Lanosaka Ovid. One would argue maybe Tzeroros is only by Regel. It's Tzeroros a derivative of Regel. How do you know you have Tzeroros of Shen? Because Toises prefaced what he said, and he said to linbo doesn't mean to just rummage. Linbo means to eat, to actually eat the garbage. It's not looking, it's eating. As he's eating, with all Ramach and Shasai Vorim, like a chazir, it's like a chazir, with all the kavonis, then what? It's eating. As it's eating the thing, it's whatever, somehow moves around and the thing flies off. It's a tzeroros of Shen. Not tzeroros the regel. Since tzeroros is a chiddush, tzeroros is a big chiddush of Torah. Tzeroros is not something I would have known, right? Tzeroros is a chiddush. As we'll see later on, tzeroros is not something indirect. Yes, it's a meforcha chiddush, special chiddush. Maybe the chiddush only applies to regel. The classical case of tzeroros is walking, like the Mishnah said, the Brisa said, walking and then shooting off. Maybe eating and tzeroros with eating. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there were not mechadish tzeroros. I'm being very careful. Excuse the bottom. Treading on eggshells. Maybe no. Kamash on the Brisa, the tzeroros can be derived either from regel or from shen. And the chazir is doing a shein azach, is eating now and is throwing away the food as he does that inadvertently, and that's called also tzeroros, even though it's a derivative of shen and not regel. That's Toistus. Okay? Next, Rice, Tonu Abonon. We don't have time. Tonu Abonon, the rabbis taught. You have to tell every time Tonu Abonon the rabbis taught? No. Right. Sorry. Tonu Abonon. Tarnagolim shemafrichin memochem lemokoim. Tarnagolim were flying from place to place. I know Tarnagol can't fly very far. He's not a not a sparrow, but they do fly, a little bit. They sort of flap their wings and they fly short distances, low. They fly low. The Tarnagol can fly low. So Tarnagolim shemafrichin memochem lemokoim. They were flying along. The shibru came in the confain. As they were flying, they're flapping their wings, and the wings hit something and broke it. My new Swarovski jar or whatever, I don't know. Yeah, the Kalim Bekanfein. What would you say? What kind of Avichayev, and if yes, why? How would you categorize it? It's not normal for a bird to fly? Oh. That's a good Havamina. Bo Karen, yeah, they're trying to damage. You think so? No, they're flying innocently. Trust me, I'm just flying from place to place. That's all. I didn't mean to hurt anybody. Regel, Mazel Tov, no to your wife. Then the Shibul Kelim Bekanfen, they broke the Kelim with their wings as they were flying, which is their version of walking. Shalom Nezek Sholem, they have to pay full price. Why? Because it's their form of regel. That's simple. For them, flying is as normal as walking. One could argue no, like Baruch, and the answer is no. Okay, it's normal enough to be considered as regel. Okay, now, excuse me, I'm sorry, something with the computer is going bad. 1 second, please forgive me. Okay, yes, thank you. Okay, now, the last narrow line. What about, listen to this, they were flying, they were flapping the wings didn't touch the actual kli, but the movement of the air made it fall and break. They're really, I mentioned some big one like a turkey or one of these animals, I don't know, an ostrich. People used to breed ostriches back then, the rich ones, the Gemara says. So let's say it flaps its wings and the wind, the air movement causes something to fall and break. What would you say then, my friends? How much and what? Why Chetzi Nezek?
Direct.
And therefore it's called tzeroros. Very nice. Because it's not as direct. It is direct movement. In other words, every time it flaps the wing, then comes the wind, the air movement, but it's not touching it, mamish. It's a consequence of that. It's a semi-direct consequence, but it's a consequence, right? It's not indirect, like me throwing a ball and then something else happens, but it's not direct enough, and therefore it's called tzeroros. I would call tzeroros semi-direct. No questions. We entered North Korea now. I'm sorry, Jeffrey, maybe you'll be the last one. Let's just read the brisa. Again, I'm restarting. That's the end of the airlines. They're flying from place to place. They broke the dishes, the kelim, with their own wings. Boom. Why? Because this is regel. Instead of you walking, they fly. Or maybe someone's, sparrow, someone's whatever animal, the bird. The ruach shebekafein. Let's say the nezik was caused because of the wind in the wings, meaning the air movement from the flapping of the wings. You pay half tzeroros. What does Sumchus say the first wide line? Sumchus is a man of principles. He always says nezek shalom. He believes tzeroros is full nezek. Tanya, yes, quick question, Jeffrey, before we continue. Tanya idach, first wide line, North Korea. Tanya idach, tenegolim shu mehadasin. What's mehadasin? Walking, dancing, hopping over the Algav Isa. Your wife made this very nice Isa. Isa is dough, Erev Shabbos. The neighbor's rooster came and started walking on her dough. Would your wife be happy? Yeah. So then the Matzil Algav Isa, the Algav Peros, so over the fruit, the Timfu, they made it dirty directly. Yeah. What? What? Sally did. Soiled it, that's a good word. I was looking for that word, subsoil. They soiled it. No, maybe they touched it and left it clean. You're saying no such thing. The mere fact they touched it is already dirty. Well, you want to eat it? No. It's infu. Oimiku, they pecked into it. Yeah, they started pecking into the chalado. Very nice. Mishalem nezek shalom. You pay full nezek because that's called normal. And this is something to do. Either as walking or eating. That's normal. Helu offal. Let's say they were standing next to the dough. And helu offal, if they were throwing offal onto the thing, they were next to the dough, and they, with their feet or something, they helu. They brought it up. They made the offer fly onto the beautiful Shabbos dough, or tzeroros, or pebbles. How much do they pay? That's tzeroros, because they're doing it here, and it flies into the Isa. They didn't touch the actual Isa, the dough. Surprise, surprise, nezek sholem. Tanya idach. Here there's another brisa that says this. The Tanagol was flying from place to place. The wind came from under his wings, which means the air movement from the movement of the wings. And it broke the kelim, the wind. Oh, so you see what? Stama kirabonon. Very good. We see a brisa that supports Rabbanon. We saw a brisa which is not argued on, a brisa that just tells you Rabbanon's opinion and ignores Sumchus on purpose. Mashma Rabbanon have now one feather in the hat, that they now have a brisa that supports them, that Chatzi Nezek is tzeroros. Omar Rove. Now Rove asks the question, which is very, very crucial for the understanding of what tzeroros really is. Tzeroros is Chatzi Nezek, sorry. Tzeroros is Chatzi Nezek, I stand corrected. If he did tzeroros, then the owner has to pay on the Chatzi Nezek. Thank you. Omar Rove. Bishlema Sumchus. I understand Sumchus. Sumchus makes sense to me. Why? Kasovar, he believes, he thinks, he keeps saying indirect, the koach, which is not mamish the person's or the animal's body touching, but it's the movement caused by the person. It's the air, it's the boom of the pebble that flies off. That's the koach, the power of the person as opposed to his actual body. He believes logically, koach and guf are the same. If you did something directly with your fist, or you did boom, fist, and then it flew over right away, It's not so indirect, like, a whole chain reaction. It's quite immediate, and therefore he says the koach, the first grade indirect, that's a good word. First grade indirect is tzeroros. Yeah, it's not like something boom and then another boom and another boom. That wouldn't be tzeroros already. But the first boom, the first extra movement is like the body itself. I don't see a difference, says Sumchus. So you pay in full. Don't start telling me half prices. Pay for my beautiful Shabbos dough. Ela Rabbanon, but Rabbanon don't make sense to me. I already gave you the answer before. But the Gemara asks the question about Rabbanon. If they believe koyach, the indirect, is like the direct, like the actual touching of the body, so pay the whole thing. If they believe that this is groma, and groma b'nizikin potu, like by human beings, if I do something indirect and potu, because my power, in other words, my movement, my indirect is not like the body, it's not the same, then chatzi nezek nami loy l'shalem. So don't pay anything. If you want to play the groma game, last time I learned about 5,000 times groma, you don't pay anything to make up your mind. If it's yes, so pay everything. If it's no, if it's just a groma, like, I don't know, like mafioso calling and saying, I'm going to take your money, some indirect thing, then you don't pay anything. So what's going on? What's this half-half business? This kind of, some kind of, compromise. Then Rava answered on his own question. Rava answered his own question. And Rava said, that's what I kept telling you all the time. Rabbanon view that first grade indirect, listen to my words, first grade indirect, it's like the guf. Misvara, yes. Sumchus, you're right. Logically speaking, Sumchus, you're the man. And that's direct enough to yes, b'mechav nezek sholem. However, I'm a believing Jew. B'chatzi nezek tzeroros, the reason why tzeroros only pays half nezek, hilcheso gmiri lo. That's what the Holy Torah prescribes. The Torah says here, we got to the two dots. The Torah says it's halacha, l'Moshe Misinai, it's halacha. This is not something written in the Torah, but this is something that they believe, they have in tradition from Rebbe to Talmud, that the chatzi nezek is tzeroros, and therefore you pay half, even though it's not anything logical. It should have been either zero or everything. The Torah here gave a special price that indirect would be half price, which we don't see by others. We don't see by human beings, right? Or other things. But here we have a special thing. Sumchus obviously didn't have that tradition, I assume. He didn't have that in the Torah. We see many times. One time I got to certain Kal V'chomer, then one didn't. V'chulei. Oh, that's a huge issue. That's a very big one. You want to say it's not halach mishut. Halach hilchas gemira law usually is. Hilchas is maybe choliot. Hilchas usually means halacha. It's not written before in the Torah, but it's a normal tradition. But I believe maybe you're saying not every hilchas is halach mishut. Choliot.
Different suffering is one less.
Different stuff is different story. Yeah, different stuff are novi. It's half rabbanon. Rambam defines different suffering as more deraisa. Some say it's rabbanon. Different suffering is already bordering on novi / rabbanon. That's a different story. But the hilchasa is from the Torah. Hilchas is from the Torah. Maybe not Sinai. We'll stop here. Okay, on Marova we have Zav. Okay, we'll stop here. Question time. Yeah. Cheers over. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow Thursday. Time flies when you have fun. Thank you. I'm listening. Bye bye. Call 2. Yeah.